All right, guys, welcome back. Episode 12 of the Conchs Podcast here. This is Captain Travis Benson with my good buddy Christian Patrick over here. Thanks for hanging out with us today, man.
Sure,
Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on here. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, man, it's been a good time, good week here coming up. We've had a lot going on, and we got a little cold front today, but you know, it's a little windy and blowing, so now we're just kind of messing with the boats, going through some tackle, you know, restocking some stuff and kind of figuring out all that stuff, which is good, and talking a little bit about kind of the catch report and what we're doing. So it's been good. Johnny boy's chilling. So we had a little visitor come in, Johnny boy. But no, man, everything's been good. We're going over some of the fishing reports, what we're doing, and I know you went fishing the last couple of days, man. How was that out there?
I did. I had the opportunity to go right out with good old Cameron and Jordan Leak, and man, we went out into the Gulf, and it was a good time. Some good weather. It slicked out really nice, and we were just kicking it. We were riding through a morning fog, and that's what we were doing.
What up, dog?
And
where's my chair?
Here, you want your chair back?
So we did go out there, and you know, we pulled up and we caught some nice cobias. They were brawling. We saw a lot of permit out there. It was a good day, man. It was tailing barracudas. It was real nice, and it was cool. It was good to be back out there doing it with the boys, and you know, we had a good time. We had a good time. Good weather, good fishing. So happy to have a good time with the boys. And you know what? Travis has got to take me on his boat, but he says there's no room for us on that boat.
Nah, man, we get him out there. It's fun, man. Christian used to run the boat that I used to run, the 26, and we've been having a good time out there. That's right. You know, fishing on that one, and it's good to see Christian back. He's been kind of bouncing around a little bit and doing a lot of different stuff, which is cool. So,
you know, it's a cool lifestyle you live when you come down here and you do it, and you get to experience the way of the life, fishing every day, taking people fishing and being able to control the experience that they get to have on the boat. And then at the end of the day, they all go, you know, that was the best time I ever had.
That is cool.
That is the coolest thing I ever got to see today. And to be able to experience that with somebody is why I did what I did for 6-7 years charter fishing.
That is true, man. People love it, you know, especially if they're not, you know, used to it. They come down here in the Keys or on vacation, and they, you know, they get out on the water, and they just really kind of, you know, forget about all that problems or issues that they're having, and they get out there, get to, you know, catch some fish and have a great time with, you know, guides who know where to go, what to do, and it's cool, man. People really enjoy that, and that's why they come back a lot of times every year. You know, they book an annual trip here and come back and fish with us, and it was great getting to know, you know, Christian whenever he was fishing with us, and he's fished, you know, a lot of different places in the Keys, you know, with different, you know, captains and stuff like that. So it's been cool, man. We've had a good time. I mean, recently, you know, this last weekend they had the fish camp, which was cool. So, you know, got to take out a lot of people and fish the bay and the reef and wrecks, and they do the camp. Normally they do a couple of those a year, so that's always cool. If you guys ever want to sign up for that, you know, you get to go on different boats and fish with different captains and stuff like that. So
might even get me to come down for the weekend, and I'll be out there with one of them.
Yeah, man. So it's been cool, man. We've been having a good time with that, and then you know, everything else has been, you know, kind of come right into season right now. So it's gonna get real busy. Springtime. A lot of fish.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm going to chime in on that too, because obviously I was, you know, 2021, 2020, 2021 was a great stretch of year for all of us that were down here charter fishing. And it was a time when a lot of people spent their extra, you know, income laying around, and we had a good economy, and people were spending money. And man, that year we fished, I know I fished somewhere near 300 to 320 days a year.
Yeah, that's a lot of fishing.
And you know, I worked for a couple guys in town that we fished 7 days a week. Even if we weren't fishing a charter, we fished every day. Whether we were scrubbing bait cages or we were waxing the tower of the boat, you know, we were doing something. And looking back, that was some good time, man. The fishing was good, the camaraderie was good, and there was always somebody in town to be able to take fishing. And looking back, man, it's slowed down a little bit right now, which is, it's cool because you get to take it in moderation. So you burn yourself out after so many days of fishing, 100 days straight, and you go, 100 days straight, I haven't even gotten to go grocery shopping. I've been eating out every day, and you know, you got Frank's Grill, all your trash piling up at one point. You go, all right, well, I need one day off. You know, the cool thing about working with Jack is Jack's the guy to understand, hey, you've been grinding, you've been pushing it out for me. I'm gonna give you a lay day here, and that's what's cool. A lot of guys in town don't do that for you, and so when I fished with Jack, I was blessed. I was lucky enough to do it, and we've built a friendship that will last forever. And not only that, but I got to meet you through Jack. I got to meet JC. Got to meet all the boys that got all these long-lasting relationships and friendships with that I'll never ever forget. I cherish those so much, and it's just a different lifestyle than when I was commercial tuna fishing, and we'll get into that later on. We'll go over all that story there, but you know, the fishing down here, to come back, to be away from it and to come back, you never know what you're gonna catch out here, and that's the beauty of the Keys, man.
That's true, man. The Keys is like that. There's so many different species, so many different places to fish, man. It's a cool, you know, it's one of the, you know, most unique places for sure,
right.
And so that's why I love fishing it too, and meeting everybody, Christian, and being a part of two Conchs, man. We have fun, and we fish hard, and we travel, and we have a good time. And you know, that's what we were talking about too, is you know, getting in with Christian about you know, a little bit more about his story too. We're trying to do that on some of the podcasts. So yeah, if you want to run through kind of how you got into fishing and like your passion for it and the route you've kind of went that, you know, so up to this point so far.
Absolutely. So, I mean, to begin, we could keep a long story short here, rather, but
long story longer.
We will make it a little longer because that's what we'll do. But
yeah.
So, initially, I fished my whole life. It was never extremely serious. You know, we did it. We'd go wahoo fishing. We'd go blue marlin fishing. We'd go down to, you know, the Caribbean. But it wasn't ever serious as like a job. And so, you know, I went through school, I graduated high school, and believe it or not, I started my fishing career, my paid professional fishing career, on a boat in Venice, Louisiana. So you take this Florida boy, 18 years old, goes all the way to Venice, Louisiana, gets on a boat with the most dirty, commercialized fishermen in the world, and I'm willing to risk it all because I had that much love for fishing. And so I went out there. I was on a king fishing boat to begin with. It was just myself and captain. And he was a good captain, man, but he was to the point where he was burnt and he didn't want to do anything else anymore. And so it was 1,000 pounds of fish a day, me alone, pulling planers, pulling the bug wire. And then guess who gutted those at the end of the day?
Probably you.
Me. And we only came home when our box was full, and you know we caught 4,000 head of fish that trip, and so it was a good time, man. But the way that the first time I got set up doing it, it kind of made me realize if I don't get a hold of this, I'm gonna hate it really fast because it was a lot of work for just me to do. And so we get back to the dock, we offload our fish. There's a boat sitting on the commercial dock. I remember it was the E dock. I was the commercial dock. And I get off the boat, I'm going and I'm cutting it up with this guy, and he's like, yeah, I'm looking for a mate. My mate, I caught him, you know, doing some drugs on the boat. And I was like, oh, that's not me, you know? I'm looking for another job because I wasn't enjoying what I was doing at the time.
Right, so you like fishing, you like being on the water, you like kind of that whole scene,
right?
You just wanted to change up, you know, your environment,
exactly.
The boat.
The guy I was working with wasn't who I wanted to be stuck on a boat with,
right?
Commercial fishing with. So then I had the opportunity to fish with this guy, Mike Ellis. Mike Ellis is a very, very great captain. He was a charter fisherman out of Venice. He ran a 36 yellowfin, and he was a tuna fisherman. And so he got the opportunity to run a fella's commercial vessel. And that's the guy that I got in with after that. I went, grabbed my bags off the other boat and said, hey man, I'm gonna go hop on this boat with this guy. That's how it's gonna be.
You just pull those switcheroos.
I did, I had to, man. You know, you gotta look out for you at the end of the day.
You gotta be having fun with what you're doing.
Right. And so I did that, and we did some of the coolest fishing in the world on that boat. The boat had a green stick. It was a 42-foot H&H. Had a green stick on it. And for those of you that are familiar with a green stick is an epic way of fishing. We would catch anywhere from 2 to 8 yellowfins at one time. You got the green stick snaps, pops down, brings it down to your bandit reel, and then you're just hydraulic yanking in fish, right? And you have everything on a snap swivel, so it's a long line clip. And so, you know, we were summertime tuna fishing, man. It was hot water, hot atmosphere. I remember the first time I pulled, it was like 140, 150 pound yellowfin on the boat. I gaffed it, brought it in the boat, and I was the gutting guy. And with tuna, you're getting paid based on the grade. So each fish pays you different. And so the first fish, he had timed me, and I didn't know he was timing me, and he had timed me, and it was 5 minutes is all you could have. You had to head the fish, gut the fish, cut his fins off, and when we had no head on the carcass, we took an 800 pound piece of mono. It was about 4 or 5 feet long. And we would take it and shove it down his spine to cool the nervous system off faster. So when he went in the brine, the fish actually got to cool down instead of just burn up his meat.
Right.
And so you're sitting there with, you know, a headless tuna, you're shoving a piece of mono down his spine, and he's going crazy.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is a different kind of world of fishing. I'm going out there fishing, we're just putting the tuna in the box.
Right.
Now, you know, we're taking care of the fish for
taking care of the meat to make sure it's the best quality possible.
And because that's the thing is, as a commercial fisherman, you're not getting paid based on your product, what you provide for them.
Yeah, so it makes a little more sense to take a little more time.
Absolutely. And so doing that whole process, I did that for like 4 or 5 months until eventually I said, no, enough is enough. Well, actually what happened, I got an infection in my leg, and I had to have surgery out of it. I got MRSA in my leg. And that was pretty traumatic. That was some really terrible pain. The guy I worked for made me fish on a blown out leg. My leg was swollen, man. Until eventually he's like, okay, this could be
really you might lose the leg. We might need to get you fixed up a little bit.
Right. I can't afford to lose anything else.
Yeah, let's try to keep the leg.
But and so, you know, we're 130 miles in the Green Canyon out of Venice. So 130 miles back home, number one. And then you're in Venice, you gotta drive either to New Orleans or anything in between there, and there's nothing.
Yeah, it's pretty remote.
About an hour and a half to New Orleans, and I remember stopping at Plaquemines Parish, which is about halfway through Venice and New Orleans, and they gave me the only thing they had, which was Dilaudid. And that took the pain away at the time, but I got on a plane, flew back to Orlando. They had me in an emergency surgery immediately. They said, I can't believe you made it this far. They said I was about 3 hours from it going septic, which septic, it is what it is at that point, but blessed, to say the least. But to get back to the point is, you know, I went and I left everything to go commercial tuna fishing because I enjoyed fishing that much.
Yeah.
And then eventually I realized I wasn't going to do that any longer, and I wanted to get my captain's license. And I got my captain's license. And then I started to get linked up with Jack. It was either social media or I think it was social media. I got linked up with Jack, and Jack said, yeah, come, you got your captain's license, come down here and run a boat. So anybody that gets their captain's license, you go and you pass the test and you think you got your captain's license, but you don't get your captain's license till you get your hard copy. So I moved down here, I filed for my license, and I passed everything, and I never got my hard copy for like 2 or 3 months after I'd passed it. So I had to wait around, and I had to mate on a couple boats, which I'd much rather have done it the way I did, because you'd be able to get your experience in a different place and learn the techniques from the guys that have been doing it down there for a long time. And so I worked for a couple guys in town and learned a lot. Some really good fishermen I worked for, and then eventually Jack gave me the opportunity to run some of the boats, and that's what I did. And it was nothing shy of one of the best parts of my life. Fishing every day, being able to make people's day. All they wanted to do was go catch some fish. And to be able to wake up and go and do that, you got to think, a lot of people wake up and they're not happy to even go to work. That was work for us. This is work for you. This is work for us now. And so just to be lucky enough to take something that you have so much passion for, turn it into work, and to enjoy it, there's a lot to be said about that.
That is true.
There's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, with I enjoy it. Even myself, I've been doing it like 4 years, and what's cool about it is, you're always trying to figure out, where you're gonna fish, what bait you're gonna catch, where you're gonna, go. I mean, down here it's nice because it's not repetitive like a lot of other places to a point, because you can fish the bay, you can fish the reef, the wrecks, offshore. I mean, there's, the bridges when the tarpon and permit come in, the flats for bonefish. I mean, there's, all different type of stuff. That's what's cool about that, boat that used to run, that I run, is the hybrid. You can kind of do a little bit of everything. You're not just kind of, focused on one thing. You can kind of, depending on the weather, you can get out further offshore, you can get out further on the bay, depending on the weather. But that's, and that's what's a lot of fun, catching the pilchards in the morning, trying to find the bait or the mullet, or, whatever's running, whatever you need to.
That's all part of it, that's all relative. And that's something that, as I did it, I always never understood why nobody else would want to do it as bad as I did. If we caught the live bait, we had the keys to the streets for the day, like we were gonna be, whatever was around, it was gonna be epic. You could go everywhere you wanted and throw scoops of bait, and whatever popped up. And it's cool you mentioned, you talk back about running that hybrid. I ran that boat for a little while, man, and there was days where it was blowing 25 out of the north, and I had to fish, but I fished back up in Sisters Creek catching tarpon and snapper and snook and stuff. And then the next day it was slicked out, and I was riding the sword ledge 30 miles off Marathon, and I was catching dolphin on that boat. And it was just, it's a really cool fishery down here, because one day, like you said, you could be in the bay catching cobia and permit on a tower, and the next day you could be out catching a swordfish in 1,600 feet of water.
It's crazy.
It is. It's an awesome fishery, man. And you know what? It's a special place in the world, and I'm blessed to be able to have spent a lot of time, especially my younger age, down here enjoying it, and it's been a really great time. It's a good time to be here. Yeah. I got to come down here and check it out with them, man. And
it's fun, man. It's a cool spot, man. It's good to catch up with you. I know you did, you ran some other boats, and you, you're still kind of, you were fishing a marathon there for a little bit when you left two Conchs, and then you're still, got some other stuff going on, I know, now with the family business and all that, so.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? You look back for a while and you say, this has been a good time. I came down to do what I wanted to do, and I feel like I achieved that goal. But when it's time to almost grow up a little bit, you gotta grow up, man. You gotta grow up. And the cool thing about not cutting fishing out is I could always return here, and I could always do what I wanted to do, because I've made the friendships, I've made the relationships, and I did what I wanted to do. I built it up to where we could do whatever we wanted to do on the boat for that day, because that was just, we were that good at doing that, and I'm blessed to be able to have the opportunity to do what I did. Point blank into the story. Blessed to have the opportunity to do it, and I had a great time doing it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad, man. It was fun.
And like now, I'm on vacation right now. I'm here for the week, just hanging out, cutting it up, and here I am cutting it up with you. And yesterday I was on the boat with Cameron and Jordan, and we had the best time in the world, man. Like the good old days, just out there catching cobia, bulldozing them, and it was just it's It's a great time.
It is, man. It's a fun company, man, with two Conchs. That's why you're always part of it. And you can always come and fish with all of us, and that's a good time. Well, thanks for being on the podcast with me today, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Telling your story. And if you guys, enjoyed, the podcast, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. We post everything on YouTube, and catch you guys next time on the next podcast.